Now that we have the onboard screen done, let's move on to our profile screen. However, before we can create a profile and send it up to CloudKit and retrieve it and show it on the screen, we need to make sure we have all the elements of our profile. Well, if you look at the profile screen, cool, we have our first name, last name, company. You can just type that in, all good. However, we need to be able to pick a photo for our avatar view. So that's what we're going to build in this video. We're going to create a UIViewControllerRepresentable into the default photo picker, select an image, and put it into our avatar view. All right, so first things first, let's go to our profile view. Well, you see we have first name, last name, company, and bio. Well, now we need an @state private var avatar. And that is a UI image, but we're gonna actually give it a placeholder, right? Or a default value, I should say. So placeholder image dot avatar, right? That's what we have. And real quick, you know, I have all this stuff. We haven't created our view model yet for profile view. Just the way I like to develop, when I'm still getting a screen working, I just do it all in one view, right? Once I have the basics of the screen working, then I refactor it into the view model and make things look pretty, just so you know kind of my flow, if you will. So we are gonna do everything in this view at first until we get it all working. And the reason I do that is I have found that if I keep it all in one view, and I come up with a bug or an error or something's not quite working, I know it doesn't have to do with my refactor, right? I know I can completely eliminate that possibility that maybe I refactored it wrong or something is not connected right. Just completely eliminate all those. And then vice versa. If I have the screen working in one view and everything's working great, and then I refactor it and put it into a view model and something breaks, well, I know it's in my refactor, right? I know it was working. So that's why I do it this way. And again, we'll come back and refactor in a few videos. So now that we have our private var avatar here, let's edit our avatar view so that it takes in an image. Because the image they pick in the photo picker, we want to definitely put it into our avatar view. So if we go to custom views, we have our avatar view here. We want that to take in another parameter, image, and that is a UI image. And then our image here is not image name, right? It is image with a UI image, right? Remember we have that initializer down here. And then we're going to pass in the image. And you can see our preview doesn't like it, so add that. And then for the preview, for the avatar, we'll do placeholder image name.avatar, right? That's the image we'll pass in. Pull up the canvas real quick to make sure everything's looking good. And it's not, because once we did this, I forgot, we're using our avatar view in a lot of places. So let's start hitting our arrows over here on the left and get rid of our canvas for now. So you'll see, I'm going to basically fix this. And again, this is still kind of our dummy code. So for now, we're gonna do placeholder image.avatar. And then instead of typing that out a bunch, copy, and then, paste, whatever. Because this is our location cell where we have those avatar views under it. Again, still kind of dummy data. We're not too worried about it. But same thing here with this avatar view, the missing image, or actually, I'm sorry, this is the first name avatar view. So this is the location detail view that has the clubhouse-like grid. So we also want to pass in an image into this view, and that is a UI image. And then again, image. Pass that in there. And then you'll see when we have our dummy data for that grid view, we're using a bunch of these first name avatar views. So just like we did before, right? We'll fix one and copy and paste the rest. So the image we want to do is placeholder image.avatar. And real quick, just so you know, this is not even, I guess it is real code, but we're not doing anything significant right now. So if you're like, Sean, why are you moving so fast? I'm confused. Like I said, this is still just updating our dummy data to take in our placeholder image. Because again, if I go back, we've updated the avatar view that we were using throughout the app to take in an image in preparation for when we have real images. Okay, so back to our profile view, we should be good to go. Let me do a quick Command B to make sure everything's good. Well, I guess the final spot is here in our profile view. So we'll add the missing parameter, and then the image for right now is avatar. So now that we went on that detour to set up our avatar view, what's gonna happen here, this avatar variable is important, because what's gonna happen, we're gonna show our photo picker, pick the photo, and then when we pick that photo, it's going to make this state variable called avatar, that photo that we picked. That is going to trigger a UI redraw, which will now populate this avatar view with the selected photo, right? So that's why we went through all that trouble, is to get that working. Okay, so now it's time to build the photo picker. And like I mentioned, there is no SwiftUI native way to use the photo picker. Well, as of now, May 31st. Who knows, in a week and a half, SwiftUI may get native photo picker, which I actually wouldn't be surprised at all if that happens. But if that does, I'll come back and do the iOS 15 update video and we'll fix it. But for now, we have to dive into UIKit to show the default photo picker. So again, that brings us to UIViewControllerRepresentable, coordinators, all that stuff. We did multiple videos on this topic in SwiftUI Fundamentals. Of course, I'm still going to explain what I do, but I'm not going to go into the depths here. So, okay, in our custom views, what I like to do is right-click, new group, and I call this UI Kit Components. And here's why. Because like I said, I imagine as SwiftUI matures, all the stuff that we have to use UIViewControllerRepresentable for, I think that will eventually fade away. Maybe not 100%, but a lot of the common stuff, especially something like the PhotoPicker. So I want to keep these separated in my code because if/when SwiftUI does get the native behavior, I have all my UI kit stuff in a folder and I know I can just rip that out and replace it, right? So that's why I like to keep that all here. So on this folder, right click, new file, just do a Swift file, hit next, call this PhotoPicker, create, and then we need to import SwiftUI because UIViewControllerRepresentable is a SwiftUI thing. So we'll do struct, because this is kind of creating like a SwiftUI view. We'll call it PhotoPicker. I mean, it's not a SwiftUI view, it's the UIViewControllerRepresentable. And you'll see here it's going to say, you don't conform to UIViewControllerRepresentable, right? Give me my stubs, give me my protocol stubs. Well, this is kind of like a two-step process. In order to create like the actual stubs, it needs to know what kind of view controller it is. UI image picker controller. Again, that's the default UI kit one. So do a Command B to make sure that's good. Now hit give me my protocol stubs. Now it's going to give you, the make UIViewController and the update UIViewController. And then you can delete this type alias. So these are the two protocol stubs that are required to conform to UIViewControllerRepresentable. Make UIViewController and then update UIViewController. So the names kind of tell what they do. This says, hey, how do I make this UI image picker controller? And then this is where you do code like if that view controller needs to be updated. We are not touching the update, like that's not our functionality. However, we do need to make the UI image picker controller. So we can do let picker equal UI image picker controller and initialize a new one. That is us literally making the view controller. And then we need to return picker, right? That's what we need to return. Now on this picker, I do want to allow editing. That's a property you can add. So we'll do picker dot allows editing. You can see some of the other properties you can do. We are going to set a delegate later. More on that if I remember. So we do want to allow editing. You'll see what that looks like in a second. That equals true. And return the picker. So that is our basic making of the view controller. Again, that's what this function does. It literally makes the view controller. Now, if all we were doing was showing this view controller and that's it, we'd be done with UIViewControllerRepresentable. We would have to use our PhotoPicker to show it, but we're not just showing it, right? We want to pass information, right? Because our UI image picker controller is going to pick an image, and then we want to take that image and pass it back up to our SwiftUI views. So in SwiftUI, the way you communicate between UIKit and SwiftUI is with something called a coordinator. Think of the coordinator like the pipes that the information flows through from UIKit to SwiftUI. So let's create that coordinator. We'll create it down here below update, final class, call it coordinator. And this needs to conform to NS object. And then it also needs to conform to the delegates that the UI image picker controller would conform to, like if you were building it in UIKit. So what that is UI navigation controller delegate, because the image picker is in a UI navigation controller, because you'll see like the dismiss button that it comes with, and then the UI image picker controller delegate. So what this image picker controller delegate will do is, we'll even type it out right now. Even though we're doing things a little bit out of order, I think I'll show you. So we can do did finish, right, you see did finish picking media with info, right? That is the UI image picker controller delegate method that we are going to implement. And so Xcode stops yelling at us. Let's just put a comment in here real quick. And I'm going to make my screen a little smaller just so that didn't look weird. But now we're getting an error here, right? Type PhotoPicker does not conform to the protocol UIViewControllerRepresentable. Well, I thought we did, right? We have make UIViewController and update. That's all we needed. Yes, when you don't have a coordinator. When you have a coordinator, there's another function called make coordinator, because it's got to create the coordinator, that you need. So we'll click that right now, hit fix. There you go. Here's our make coordinator, except I don't want you up here. I want you down here below. So just like we initialize the UIViewController up here, we need to initialize our coordinator up here. So for now, we can do coordinator with nothing. but we're going to have an initializer on our coordinator. So we're going to have to come back and update that. But conceptually, that's all we're doing here is like just initializing the coordinator. And these functions, by the way, make UIViewController, make coordinator, those get called automatically when we use our PhotoPicker. We don't have to like manually call those. Okay, so let's go down to our coordinator here and update this with our initializer. So like I mentioned, the coordinator is the pipes where the communication happens from UIKit to SwiftUI. So the coordinator needs to know about both parties. So our coordinator right now knows about the UI image picker controller, right? Because we're doing that. But now it needs to know about the SwiftUI aspect of things. So we need to give it a property, say let PhotoPicker of type PhotoPicker. So that is literally our PhotoPicker struct. And again, this is what we're going to use in our SwiftUI views. And then the initializer, just init with it. So init, and then say PhotoPicker, which is of type PhotoPicker, and self.PhotoPicker equals PhotoPicker, right? The classic initializer, nothing new here. Hopefully you've seen that a bunch of times, right? So now our coordinator takes in this initializer or takes in a PhotoPicker. So we have to tell the coordinator, hey, what PhotoPicker am I communicating with? And in our case, it's going to be self. So when we create this PhotoPicker, you'll see that's going to be the last step we do to actually use it. It will automatically create its view controller. It will create its coordinator. And when it creates its coordinator, it'll say, hey, I am the SwiftUI aspect of things. Now, coordinator is kind of like a delegate. So if you remember, I had to set the delegate that I said I hope I didn't forget, and I didn't. So we'll do picker.delegate equals context.coordinator. And context here is our UIViewControllerRepresentable. So we're saying, hey, our coordinator is our delegate, and you see our coordinator conforms to the delegate. And just like delegates do in UIKit, as soon as we did finish picking an image, we have to do some code. So when the user pops up their PhotoPicker, they pick an image, this fires off. And what we're going to do is we're going to take whatever image they picked from UIKit, pass that image into SwiftUI, and show it in our avatar view. That's the big picture of what's going on here. Now, on that note, our PhotoPicker needs an image, right? Because that's what we're going to do here. We're going to get this image here, and we have to set the PhotoPicker's image equal to whatever we picked. Well, the PhotoPicker needs to then tell our profile view to show it in the avatar. So that kind of went upstream, but we actually build it going downstream. Let me show you what I mean. So our PhotoPicker needs a binding to an image. Binding var image is of type UI image. So when we create our PhotoPicker, we have to pass a binding to the avatar. Let's actually set that up so maybe it's not so confusing. And by the way, speaking of being confusing, once we get this all built, tested, as always, I go back, do the run through once everything's connected to explain everything. Because I know as we're building it and you don't maybe not connect all the dots, it might not make sense. But okay, so in our profile view, we want to have a sheet that shows our PhotoPicker. So down here below the navigation title on our overall profile view, we'll do .sheet. And again, is presented and content. So the is presented needs a binding, which we don't have yet. So we'll do @state private var is showing PhotoPicker. And that's going to equal false to start. I'll worry about my equal signs later. So back down to our sheet here, we do $ is showing PhotoPicker, and then the content we want is the PhotoPicker that we just created, right? And you can see that now takes a binding to an image. Go back to the PhotoPicker. That's what we just did here, right? On our PhotoPicker, remember I said this is what we're going to use in our SwiftUI view, literally what we just typed, and that does take in a binding to an image. The reason it takes in a binding to an image is once we pick our image from our picker controller, we're going to set that equal to this image. And because it's a binding, it goes up the stream. So back to our profile view to finish this off. Again, let's delete this content label, again, just for cleanliness. And then we delete this extra parentheses down there. And then now we initialize our PhotoPicker with the image, and we want that to be a binding to avatar. Again, once we select our picture, it's going to be set to avatar. And like I said, when avatar changes, it's going to trigger a UI update. But now our avatar is no longer our placeholder. It is our real selected picture. So then we go down to the avatar view and set the image accordingly. So that's how everything works. However, we're not quite done, of course. Let's go back to our PhotoPicker, because once they pick it, we're not doing anything quite yet. So what we need to do here is if let image equal info, and info is what we get back here, right? It has a info key and then a value. So info is kind of like a dictionary here. So info, we want to do .edited image. You could do .original image, but because we are allowing editing, whatever image they edit, that's the one we want. So we want to do edited image here. And then as UI image, because this could fail and be nil. And then if that's good, we want to basically set our avatar equal to this. However, we want to do some compression first. And The topic of image compression, can get very in-depth and very detailed. We're going to keep it pretty simple for the sake of this course. Again, there's so many threads and rabbit holes we could go down, but I got to draw the line somewhere, or this would be multiple hundreds of videos long. So the basic image compression we're going to do is pretty simple. We'll say let compressed image data equal image.jpeg data compression quality. And here is a value 0 to 1. So 1 would be like 100%. 0 would be like 0%. We're going to do 0.1. And how I came up with this number was a little bit of trial and error. If you remember back into our CloudKit dashboard, when I showed Jason's profile picture and it was like 4.7 megabytes, well, that was my beta, which had this at 0.25. So that 4.7 megabytes was already being compressed by 75%. So now we're going to try 10% and see, how that goes. And again, you can come back and tweak this and really dive deeper into that. But that's why we're picking 10% because the images people have in their photo roll, right? When they take pictures with their camera, those are very high quality, high, resolution pictures. We don't need that for our, little square profile image, right? They're so small. We don't need all that. And like I mentioned, if we're downloading 10, 20 megabyte images for every profile photo, you can see how that's not very efficient and our app will be sluggish, our network calls will be slow. So we want our profile pictures to be, as small as possible without losing quality. And again, this is a super basic way to compress it. You can get pretty deep and pretty involved in this. But once we have our compressed image, we're going to force unwrap this for now, only because I don't want to derail the lesson with proper error handling at the moment. We will come back and refactor this error handling, but for now, let's keep this force unwrapped. So what we want to do is say PhotoPicker.image equals UI image, and then we're going to initialize UI image from data. And we have the data up here, the compressed image data that we just compressed. And again, that is going to be force unwrapped because that can fail. Again, we'll come back and handle that. But a quick recap of what's going on here is this fires off, did finish picking media. As soon as they pick a picture, this fires off. We make sure we have something at the edited image, make sure it's not nil, just in case. Then we get that image, we compress the data by 90%. I know that sounds like a lot, but like I said, I compressed it by 75% and images were still 5 megabytes. So we're trying 10%. And then once we have our compressed image data, we're creating a UI image from that data and we're setting that equal to our PhotoPicker.image, which again is this variable up here, which is a binding to our avatar image in our profile view, which again, when that changes, it's going to trigger a UI update and it will populate our avatar image view with whatever we selected. Okay, so now pretty much all we have left to do is to trigger when we do this. So on our avatar image, right, this Z stack that we have here, we want to add a tap gesture. So when they tap this avatar image, the photo picker will pop up. So that is a .tap gesture. And we'll do basically is showing photo picker equals true. Pretty simple. And then of course, something like this, that's got to be a one-liner. Okay, now let's run this and test it. Okay, here we are. Notice we didn't see our onboard view or the location stuff because we handled that. If we go to profile, cool, there's our profile. Now if we tap the avatar, we should see our photo picker pop up. In the simulator, the first time you do it, it'll take a couple seconds because it's like loading, especially if you're logged in. It's like pulling in real images from your iCloud. So you're seeing a lot of my screenshots from the simulator kind of stuff. So let's pick, I don't know, let's try this Aluna screenshot here, right? And this is the is editing equals true portion, right? So this screenshot is vertical, but it wants me to get a square. So I can kind of crop, whatever I want. So let's crop the top of it, right? So you share into our square, hit choose, nothing's happening. So I hit choose, stopped it. Okay, we forgot one element. We're not dismissing our photo picker, right? We have to handle that. Forgot about that. So in our photo picker, we need to access the environment presentation mode. That way we can dismiss it. So to do that, remember this is not an environment object. This is just environment. And then we want to do key path to presentation mode, var presentation mode. So a quick explanation, option click into environment, click on open developer documentation. Here you can see, use the environment property wrapper to read a value stored in the view's environment, right? So color scheme, this is like light mode or dark mode. You can kind of reach into the environment and see, how the view is being presented. So here we're calling presentation mode, and then you'll see down here in the image picker, after we pick it, we'll do photo picker.presentation mode.wrapped value .dismiss. So again, we reached into the environment, into our presentation mode and called dismiss on it. So basically after they pick it, we're automatically going to dismiss the UI image picker controller. Okay, so now let's try this again. And then when we dismiss it, we should see our avatar view update with whatever we picked and the proper crop of it. Okay, so here we go. Profile, tap the avatar. Again, simulator is a little bit delayed, takes a little bit. Okay, let's pick our Aluna screenshot that I took here. Let's crop it to the bottom just to make sure it was different than what we did before. Hit choose, that dismisses it. And now you see our image view is the bottom of the screenshot that I just cropped, or maybe you had some images on your simulator, whatever's on there. But now our profile image, and right, you can click it again, it'll pop up again. Let's go with the old dub logo. It's already a square, so hit choose. There we go. There's the dub avatar. Now we have it working, but we're not like saving it, right? If we stop the app and rerun it, we're not going to have an avatar image. We're not going to have any like profile. Well, in the next couple of videos, we're actually going to work on creating the profile, sending it up to CloudKit so it persists. So let's keep it moving.